In today's tutorial, we're creating a design that has lots of negative space. And by that, I mean lots of gaps and holes. If this is a style of arrangement that you would like to create, then keep watching today's tutorial. If you're studying floral design in college, then this design is an example of form linear. Welcome back to another tutorial. If you haven't been here before, welcome. My name is Sharon Dower and I'm the founder of the online flower school Sharon Dower, named after me, and you'll find loads of online lessons over on the website sharondower.com if you want to learn how to do floral design. And I've just released a 5-lesson bridal hand tie course if you want to learn how to make bridal hand ties, and you'll find a link to that in the description box. You'll also find a link to the online courses and a discount code in the description box. There's not only floristry lessons where you learn funeral and hand ties, there's also courses designed for hobby style flower arrangers too. Let's get on with today's arrangement. Now I've got a fantastic flower for today. If you're here in the UK, then you're going to absolutely love it because it's something exotic and unusual and something that we don't normally see. If you're from warmer parts of the world, then you might have these growing in your garden. I did a talk last year in Guernsey and they were growing in people's gardens as well as in their greenhouses. So what flower am I talking about? Well, it's the magnificent Strelitzia, or the bird of paradise, or you might know it as the crane flower. It's a striking flower that represents a bird, and it's got a complementary colour harmony of orange and blue. So two colours that lay opposite one another on the colour wheel. So if you're studying at college and you're learning to be a florist, then this is a really good example of two colours that lay opposite one another. So we've got the blue on this side here, which is a primary colour, and the orange on the opposite side. So it's nature's version of a complementary colour harmony. And if you didn't already know, with the Strelitzia, the flowers emerge from this sort of beak section here. And when this part here, this fan-shaped part here has died off, if you open up this throat section here, this bit that almost looks like the beak of a bird, then you'll find more flowers inside there. So discard the old ones. So this one, for example, we can get rid of. And then if I open this bit up here, you'll find another flower. Look at that, ready to emerge. Just amazing. It's not warm enough in the UK, or it's not warm enough where I live in the UK to grow these. I think if you had a conservatory or a large greenhouse, polytunnels maybe, you could probably grow them at home. And I'm going to use them today to make a little bit more of a statement floral design rather than the standard traditional designs that we see a lot of on the channel. And I'm going to team them up with some oranges and some blues to keep this a true complementary colour harmony. I've got an ordinary container. This would have held a pot plant at some time, and it's a really lovely greyish blue. This is what we would call glauca, and it matches really nicely with the only tall bit of greenery that I'm putting in. So the colour link there is really nice. It's a slightly different shade of blue to my other flowers, but it's going to work really well. And you'll notice that even though there is floral foam in the container, it is below the level of the container. And that is because I'm going to do a more modern arrangement with lots of space in amongst the flowers, no particular outline shape. And I'm not considering bringing any flowers out here at the side. So I don't need to have foam above the edge of the container. Now I'm going to start with the Strelitzia flower first. I'm going to get these statement flowers in first because they have a really unique shape. And what I want to do is really emphasize the shape of the head. I always think that if you're buying a flower or using a flower that has that really unusual shaped head, you need to show it off, not hide it amongst loads of greenery, gypsophila and loads of filler flowers. So these two are a similar sort of shape. So I'm going to echo these two on one side, and we're almost going to create what we call shadowing. So two of them underneath one another. And I've started in my foam to one side. I haven't created a center line, which we don't tend to do in a more modern style of arranging. So I've clustered them together on one side so that the flower head is completely visible. I haven't hidden it with loads of other material. And I've got a beautiful, well, I think it's absolutely beautiful. This is dogwood, or the Cornus. The variety name is Winter Beauty, and it has this gorgeous flame colour on it. So I thought that linked really nicely with the colour oranges. And also on the front of the Strelitzia is a lovely flame sort of colour red, and I thought the colour link is going to be really nice. And what I'm going to do with these is just extend some height and some width out on the opposite side. Again, I'm not going central, so I'm not making that traditional design. I'm going off centre to create a much more modern version of an arrangement without that centre focal line down through the middle. So with just 4 pieces, I've got a really striking design, and then I'm going to offset my third Strelitzia over onto this side here. And what this is doing is creating an internal triangle where the gap between each flower isn't the same. So it's not an equilateral triangle. It's one that has what we call 3/5/8 proportion, and that is going to be positioned over on that one side there. So the gap between these two flowers here is the smaller proportion. Then we have a middle-sized proportion between this flower here and this one here. And then we have a longer gap between this flower and this one here. And that's, in the trade, is what we call a Fibonacci sequence, and it uses the 3/5/8 rule rather than those traditional 1/3, 2/3 proportions. And that creates the drama and the excitement of the arrangement. You could, if you wanted to, just cover this with some moss or some large leaves, but I've got a couple of interesting flowers to use there at the base. And because I have this lovely piece of eucalyptus and the colour is so nice with my base, I'm just going to add it here towards the back. This is going to help create some depth. It's going to draw your eye backwards and give me a little bit of texture and movement there towards the back of the arrangement. And I'm going to cluster the 3 little pieces together like so. So there is lots of space within this arrangement, what we call negative space. I haven't created that outline shape like a triangle or a circle. So at the base, I'm going to use a blue hydrangea, which will help pick up on the colour blue. Now my hydrangea is a little bit older than the rest of the flowers. This has been in the studio since last week, and I knew it was going to work really well at the base. You might notice a few drop-in petals. Now this isn't a flower that I would use in an order or I'd send out to a customer because the quality isn't good enough, but it's fine for me to use here as an example for you. So this is the remains of a hydrangea head that I've used in a shop order, and together they're going to cluster together really nicely there on the front to give me that really dramatic effect at the bottom. And you could use roses closely knitted together, you could use gypsophila, but what you want to do is make it look like it's one flower, not a combination of lots of small flowers, and you want to knit it really closely together to create that visual impact. To give me a little bit of that orange colour down at the base, I'm going to use a magnolia leaf, and these come from my neighbour's garden. On that side there, it's a lovely lush glossy green, but on the underside, we've got a really lovely, almost furry looking orange colour. The texture on this is really quite strange because it feels almost like suede. And I'm going to place these just alongside that cluster of eucalyptus. I'm probably only going to use 1 or 2. This is just to connect the orange at the top and to complete my outline shape, but they're tucked in really low down. It also helps to support that slightly floppy hydrangea, but it gives me a lovely colour link with the orange. Traditionally, we would balance that off with something similar on the opposite side, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to use a contrasting greenery. This is Monstera, the Monstera Deliciosa, and I'm just going to pick out the nicest shape, and we're going to extend the width on one side to really emphasize the fact that this design isn't symmetrical on either side. And again, I've done that Same method where I've grouped two pieces of material together. We almost call this shadowing, where they're very close to one another. I'm not going to worry about adding greenery at the back. For those of you who don't like the modern look, I know you're going to want some greenery at the back, but we're going to leave that more open feel and emphasize that negative space there at the back. And just to introduce some of the orange color down at the base, I'm going to use this unusual color carnation. This one is called Miss India. Some of you might not like this. It's very much like a spice color, but it's got that green tinge on the underside, and some people mistakenly think it's past its best, but in fact it is particularly fresh. I'm just going to use that finger and thumb method just to open up that carnation so that there's more colour showing in it. And I'm going to tuck these around the back, almost to create the same effect as the hydrangea has created at the front. By grouping them really close together, we get that interesting massed grouped look, which creates a visual impact. And I'm going to put 5 here at the base. Now, if you're studying floristry in college, you will probably know this as a form linear style. It's where there is no manipulation of any type of flower, and it's where you leave every flower speak for itself. And when you look at it in silhouette, you can clearly identify the different types of flowers. And it's a design that doesn't have an outline shape like our British traditional arrangements. I don't have to worry about covering the floral foam at the back because there's no foam visible, because we started below the level of the container. And that's a really basic statement piece that would work so well in a modern environment. If you're a little bit scared of creating a design with a lot of negative space, then pick some important flowers, some statement flowers, and remember to give them lots of space so you can clearly see them. So that's my design for today's tutorial. I hope you really like that one. I tried to give you a variation of different styles and techniques on the channel, so I hope you really like that one. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, then please do so. Hit that notification bell to be told every time I upload a new video, and tell all your friends about us, because that's the only way this channel is going to grow. Stay to the end of the video because there's lots of close-ups of the individual flowers and the finished design. And I look forward to seeing you for the next tutorial very soon. Thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.